In recent years, there's been a proliferation of Chinese penny stock companies listing their shares on US stock exchanges. Many of these penny stocks are the subject of pump and dump campaigns. Unscrupulous actors use social media to trick retail investors to buy the stock and proceed to dump their shares for a quick profit. It became such a problem that in September of 2025, the SEC formed a special task force specifically to crack down on these foreign-based pump and dump schemes. In today's video, we're going to look at one of the craziest of these scams that has surfaced to date. A tiny company with just 20 employees had its share price pumped up to a peak of $12 billion. QMMM Holdings is a Hong Kong-based company incorporated in 2022. It describes itself as a digital advertising and marketing company. They own a subsidiary called Many Creations, which makes ad campaigns, TV commercials, online video, 360 video, and animation. Many Creations has an extremely basic website. The homepage has a generic stock photo of a mountain in the background, and text saying they recently moved their corporate office. We'll talk more about the office change later. This is the entirety of the website, just a generic homepage. It doesn't show any examples of the ad campaigns they've made or anything like that. QMMM has a second subsidiary called Quantum Matrix. Quantum Matrix creates virtual avatars. The idea is a customer can scan their body, and Quantum Matrix will create a virtual avatar in the same size and shape as a customer. If you want to purchase clothes online, you can see how the clothes look on the virtual avatar. While this sounds great in theory, it is very difficult to implement in practice. Any consumer who wants to use this needs to get their body scanned, and you have to make a digital version of every piece of clothing you sell. This would take a huge amount of effort for fast fashion retailers, which are constantly cycling through new styles. The other thing Quantum Matrix is working on is a hyper-realistic, uncanny valley virtual avatar that tracks the facial movements of a real person through a camera. At the time of its IPO in 2024, QMMM had 22 employees. That's across both of their subsidiaries. It was a very small company indeed. QMMM's digital avatars appear to have not been very successful. In their first fiscal year 2022, they generated $3.4 million of revenue and reported an operating profit of $870,000. By fiscal 2024, their revenue had decreased to $2.7 million, and they incurred an operating loss of $1.6 million. The business was not doing well. In July of 2024, QMMM IPO'd on the NASDAQ. They sold 2.15 million shares for $4 each, raising gross proceeds of $8.6 million. The net proceeds were only $7.8 million after deducting the fees they had to pay to the investment bank. They also used $1.2 million to buy back shares from a related party shareholder. QMMM only received $6.4 million of net proceeds that it could actually use to fund its operations. So what did they do with this money? This is where things get a little bit strange. Almost immediately following the IPO, QMMM made $4.5 million of prepayments for future services. They paid $1.9 million to purchase an enterprise resource planning or ERP software. An ERP is a software that large companies use to keep track of their internal data. QMMM is a tiny company. They have 22 employees and less than $3 million of annual revenue. Why would they need a $1.8 million ERP? It makes no sense. The other part of their prepayment is even weirder. They made approximately $2.7 million of prepayments for marketing services. These marketing services were to last for 2 years. On the surface, it makes no sense why QMMM would need to pay so much money for marketing. Remember, they have two businesses. Many Creations is a creative ad agency. They make commercials and ad campaigns on behalf of other companies. Their second subsidiary, Quantum Matrix, makes the apparel try-on avatars. Their customers are e-commerce companies. Both of their offerings are business to business. QMMM does not sell any product directly to consumers, so it makes no sense why they would need to spend millions of dollars on marketing. If we look at the fine print, we can get a better idea of what's really going on. The marketing services include investor relations, media coverage, advertising, and monitoring social media. Investor relations is another way of saying stock promotion. QMMM wasn't so much interested in marketing any product or service. Their main goal was to promote their stock, and it looks like they hired an external stock promotion agency to do this. QMMM IPO'd at $4 per share, which gave the company a market capitalization of approximately $70 million. By November of 2024, the share price had tripled to $12. There was no apparent reason for this increase in share price, as the company did not announce any material news during this period. That gave the company a market capitalization of a little over $200 million. A crazy valuation given the fact that the company has less than $3 million of annual revenue and is losing money. In November, the stock price collapsed down to less than $1. There is no apparent reason for this collapse in the share price. For the next few months, the stock price lingered around the $1 range. On June 20th, 2025, QMMM entered into a private placement with several unnamed investors. They sold 40 million shares at a price of 20 cents each, raising gross proceeds of $8 million. At the time, QMMM's stock price traded for about $1, so they sold the shares for an 80% discount to the market price. The secondary offering was extremely dilutive. Before the offering, QMMM had 17 million shares outstanding. They issued 40 million new shares. Thus, the share count increased to 57 million. The new investors now own 70% of the company. Shortly after the secondary offering closed, QMMM's share price started increasing again. Again, there is no apparent reason for the share price to increase. The company did not announce any material news during this period. On September 8, 2025, the share price closed at $11.27. By this point, QMMM had a market capitalization of $640 million, an absurd valuation for a company that generated just $2.7 million of revenue in the most recent fiscal year. And things would only get crazier from here. In 2020, a software company called MicroStrategy started purchasing Bitcoin to hold on its balance sheet. For reasons that are difficult to understand, investors bid up the price of MicroStrategy's stock to a level far exceeding the value of their Bitcoin holdings. This allowed MicroStrategy to issue dilutive securities to acquire more Bitcoins. At its peak, MicroStrategy's market cap exceeded $100 billion. After seeing MicroStrategy's success, many other companies followed suit and also started buying Bitcoin. Today, there are well over 100 publicly traded companies that own Bitcoin. In an attempt to differentiate themselves, some companies started buying Ethereum or other altcoins as well. On September 9, 2025, QMMM announced that it too would be joining the crypto bandwagon. They published a press release saying QMMM Holdings announced strategic expansion into cryptocurrency and blockchain AI solutions. Specifically, they plan to establish a diversified crypto treasury which will include Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. The treasury is expected to reach an initial scale of $100 million. QMMM didn't have $100 million at the time. Presumably, they plan to issue new shares to fund this crypto treasury. On September 8, 2025, QMMM's share price closed at $11.27. On September 9th, the day they announced the crypto treasury strategy, the share price increased almost 20-fold, closing at $207. This gave the company a market capitalization of almost $12 billion. Over the next couple weeks, QMMM's share price was volatile, but it remained significantly higher than it was before the announcement. There were multiple aspects of the QMMM story which are very suspicious to say the least. Let's review them. Firstly, why did such a small company spend almost $3 million on investor relations services shortly after its IPO? Secondly, why did they issue 40 million shares at an 80% discount to a group of unnamed investors? Who were these investors? Were they in any way related to the company's management team? Did they know about the planned crypto treasury announcement in advance? Between June and September of 2025, QMMM's share price increased more than tenfold. This was before the crypto treasury strategy was announced. Why did the price increase so much? The suspicious nature of QMMM's stock quickly gained the attention of the SEC. On September 29, 2025, the SEC enforced a temporary trading halt on QMMM's stock. The SEC says that QMMM's stock was potentially being manipulated by means of recommendations made to investors by unknown persons via social media to purchase QMMM stock, thereby causing the stock to trade at an artificially inflated level. In other words, they think QMMM is a pump and dump. Here's how these types of pump and dump schemes work. Let's say you're a retail investor. You're scrolling through Twitter or Instagram and you see an ad for a service that offers free stock picks. You click on the ad and it'll take you to a WhatsApp or Telegram group. The WhatsApp group will be run by somebody claiming to be an investment professional with a great track record. In reality, they're a scammer sitting in a call center somewhere overseas. They'll talk to you for a while trying to gain your trust. Then they'll tell you to buy some penny stock saying it's about to skyrocket. This is almost certainly what happened with QMMM. The reason the stock price surged so much in July and August is likely because these scam WhatsApp groups were convincing naive retail investors to buy the stock. Once they announced the crypto treasury strategy, they took their stock promotion activities to the next level. Remember that in June of 2025, QMMM sold 40 million shares to several unnamed investors for 20 cents each, representing a total consideration of $8 million. They pumped up the share price to over $100. So those 40 million shares are now worth more than $4 billion. The plan was almost certainly to dump their shares to lock in their profits, but before they were able to dump their shares, the SEC halted the stock. The SEC halted the stock on September 29th before the market opened. On the previous day, the stock closed at $119.40. The SEC only has the authority to halt a stock for 10 days, so the halt was scheduled to expire on October 10th. However, the NASDAQ has the authority to halt trading of a stock almost indefinitely. Before the SEC's trading halt expired, the NASDAQ implemented its own trading halt. The NASDAQ said it requested additional information from the company. Shares will remain halted until QMMM provides this additional information. We don't know what information the NASDAQ is asking for, but it's probably related to the private placement from June when QMMM sold 40 million shares at the heavily discounted price of 20 cents each. On October 7th, about a week after its shares were halted, QMMM released the following statement, quote, "The company has not participated in any price manipulation activity and will fully cooperate with both the SEC and NASDAQ," unquote. On October 16th, the reporter from the Chinese media outlet Caixin visited QMMM's corporate headquarters in Hong Kong. They found that QMMM's office was vacant. He asked employees in neighboring offices. They stated that QMMM had moved out in September, but they did not know the location of the new office. On October 17th, one day after the Caixin report was published, QMMM disclosed that it had indeed moved its corporate headquarters to a different building in Hong Kong. They did not give any reason as to why they moved their headquarters. So what's going to happen next with the company? As of the time of recording this video on October 30th, QMMM's shares remain halted. It's unclear when they will be allowed to resume trading. It's possible that the NASDAQ will delist the company and shares will begin trading on the over-the-counter markets. If so, the price is likely to collapse. Alright guys, that wraps it up for this video. What do you think about QMMM? Let us know in the comments section below. As always, thank you so much for watching and we'll see you in the next one. Wall Street Millennial, signing out.